Welcome, my friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you, as always, by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camels Challenge. Smoke Camels for 30 days and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. Well, my friends, it's this is the day after yesterday was the No Kings rally across the nation. Uh, I don't participate anymore in these things. I'm a monk. I live in this home, and when the air from the smoke from Canada pours across the border, I shut down my windows and turn on my Corsi fans, and stay indoors. If I go outside, then I wear a mask. I just got finished reading uh, this very nice first novel, All the Water in the World. This is, trying to imagine, some people, have some sense of what's coming. And so this is a novel imagining that New York is completely submerged in water, and these people are living on the top of the American Museum of Natural History. And they have to escape on a raft, and they go to the Hudson River, and it's an adventure, and it's the world of the immediate future, in which the sea level rise has gotten completely out of hand, and in which civilization has collapsed, and in which there's no more internet, electricity. The water is all poison. There have been mosquito-borne diseases and airborne diseases. She fails to imagine, though, that the air itself, somebody dies, somebody's attacked by dogs and is killed, the horrible death. Someone swallows the water and dies from that. There's no antibiotics. It's very hard. People are dying from all kinds of things, but she fails to imagine the fact that the the air itself becomes extremely toxic and difficult to breathe. One of the things that I think people fail to understand here is that everything is collapsing at the same time. There was recently a study. I like uh, 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 this. I forget his name. Anyway, uh, the a recent publication on the survey of land-based water, lakes and rivers, showing that all over the world, the land-based water is becoming hypoxic. It's starved of oxygen. Uh, and we know that all over the world, the glaciers are melting. All the glaciers are melting. None of the glaciers are growing. All the glaciers are melting. All the ice is melting. All of the permafrost around the globe is melting. So these are massive changes that are taking place to our planet. The planet's albedo has changed significantly. The amount of energy that we're absorbing from the sun has changed significantly. The kinds of things the changes that have taken place are changes that are far beyond our ability to manage, cope with change at all. And at the same time, we're now experiencing lots of volcanoes and earthquake activity. So it looks like something significant is on the way for us. The planet was never terribly stable. That's why we've had five significant extinction events before human species even evolved. And we have been a blip in a very short period of stability on the planet, and that's over now. And our extinction is now just inevitable, and there's nothing that we can do to change the course of our demise. The question then becomes just how will we as a species, we're pretty clever little creatures. We now have a telescope a million miles from the Earth. I mean, we can, be mildly proud of our accomplishments in the short period of our existence. We've had a little perspective on the universe in which we exist. But in general, our species is not going to go peacefully into the night. It's going to be brutal, and you can see that. So uh, what we have, and I've said this before, it's just rising conflict, rising violence, rising so that in what we need is global cooperation. In the 1990s, early 90s, when we came up with the Montreal Protocol, scientists had noticed that there's a big hole in the ozone layer, and that threatened the existence of life on the planet. And so you had a cooperative agreement among all the nations of the earth to phase out the use of these toxic fluorocarbons, which were destroying the ozone. That's the only way forward. And that's not even, that is not even a way to, we never, I'm convinced now that even in the 1990s, when we first realized the consequences of industrialization and of our fossil fuel civilization, when we first discovered that, it was already too late. The ice was already melting, the permafrost was already melting, the earth was already beginning to move in a trajectory that we could not come back from. In the early 1990s, the whole idea was that we could limit, the CO2 to 350 parts per million. It's now over 400, obviously. We never were able to do that. We could limit warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial period. And obviously we haven't been able to do that either. But never mind that. Even at the rates that we were at in 1990, we had already stepped beyond our ability to turn the clock back. That's the point. So I got an email last week from one of my listeners. I don't have any Patreon, and I don't have any, I don't ask you to click on anything or send me your thoughts. None of that. I am now down to the core of those people who, for some bizarre reason or other, want to see my face and know that I'm still alive, and have and want to hear something about what I have to say. Why that is, I don't know, but there's about 100 people on this planet of 8 billion who tune in, and not exactly 100 anymore. It's more like 60, 70, but that's all right. For me, that's okay. I'm not looking for an audience, but I have an audience, and a member of my audience. Let me give a shout out to. Uh, uh, Shout out to Glenn Coleman, the author of Teaching in the New Crazy on Thriving in an Overwhelmingly Politicized and Complicated World. Great book. I have reviewed it before and I've recommended it before. Anyway, Glenn asked me if I would comment on AI and Judaism and Zionism, topics that I really have kind of, Judaism and Zionism I've really avoided since, YouTube shut me down. Speak of AI. I have always said with AI that, we should obey the algorithm. And in fact, we do obey the algorithm. I live within the algorithm. These YouTube broadcasts come to you via the tolerance of the algorithm. The algorithm got upset at me once because I sometimes talk about us and them in a very sophisticated and complex and ironic way, and the algorithm didn't quite get it. And so the algorithm said to me that they shut me down. They pulled my broadcast, and they told me that I had violated community standards. And if I do it again, that's it for me, And so, but I could appeal. So I appealed, and the algorithm reviewed what the algorithm had decided, and the algorithm decided that the algorithm had decided correctly the first time. I get into my car and the algorithm tells me whether to turn right or left. Uh, I go to YouTube and the algorithm tells me you would be interested in this. I mean, I know you would be interested in these things. I have fished out all over YouTube to find things that the algorithm thinks that you would find interesting. The algorithm figures out how much I should pay in my electrical bill every month, and it normalizes it over the year. And so we are already controlled by the algorithm. Uh, and um, uh, and AI in obviously is not just in driving a car or reviewing community standards, but it is all much more global than that. We actually are surrendering to the algorithm all of the time. However, the doom and gloom about AI, I mean, AI is going to take AI. Uh, I started off by saying what's really coming at us is that our planet, the albedo of our planet is dying. Here's what the problem is. The problem is that 70% of our insects are gone, but there's a bigger problem in the oceans because the same thing is that all of the inland water is becoming apoxic, and all of the ocean water is also becoming intolerant to life. And there's these little buggers in the water called phytoplankton, and all of the life on it's the ground level for living things. It supplies us with oxygen. It and 70% of the insects have gone. We don't know what the level of reduction in phytoplankton it has been, but we do know that it's been enormous, and that they're moving to cooler waters. That because it's becoming intolerably warm in most of the ocean, and a lot of fish are doing that too. They're migrating to places where you can still breathe and where you can still live. And of course, the coral reefs can't move like that, and they are all collapsing. AI is not what's going to drive us into extinction. What's driving us into extinction is the changes in our planet's ability to provide for life, for all life, for any kind of life. Everything is disappearing around us. So that's what's happening, and we can't turn that around. So AI, say, relax, obey the algorithm, and keep your windows shut and your Corsi fans going. Of course, that means that I need to have electricity and I need to have windows that I can keep shut. Judaism and Zionism is a whole other thing. I John Stewart had said something about, nobody should need a place. Israel is like a place where Jews can go if they, is not safe where they are. And it's proved that wherever Jews are, it's not safe. So you have to have a place that you can run to. And he didn't think that, he said, my home is New York. And, and I don't think that anybody should need to have a place that they could go and be safe in. So that was Zionism to him. That's not Zionism to me. I am a ritually Orthodox Jew. To me, Israel is home because it's the center of my faith. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And when in 1967, when I realized that Israel was in danger, Gamal Abdel Nasser, there's this coalition of Arab nations, and they would get surrounded Israel, and they outnumbered Israel and everything else. And and no matter what you looking back at that time, it seemed to me an awfully dangerous situation, and nobody seemed to care whether Israel was wiped off the map or not. And that's when I left school. This was final exam time. I dropped out. I didn't take my finals. I flew to Israel. Fortunately, I was a student at Yeshiva University, so everybody said, "Oh, and don't worry about it. We'll fix it when you come back," and they did. And I graduated normally. But I said, the hell with that. That wasn't what was important to me. Nothing was important to me. I left for Israel in order to be with my people in my home in a time when it was in danger. And indeed, when I got there, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like this was home. Now, I want you to also understand that I felt the same way when I got to Germany. I felt home, and the people felt like my people. I traveled through Germany in 1970, 71, 72, I think it was, and met with a lot of activists and wrote on my experience there, an article in neo-Nazi Germany. I arrived in Hamburg, Germany, just as a time that there was a neo-Nazi demonstration, and they, here I am, I'm getting off the train station, and these Nazis are saying, "Kauf nicht bei Juden," Juden aus, Juden raus, they get rid of it. What Jews? I mean, you already got rid of the Jews. Don't you remember? You did that already. There are no more Jews, But they thought that the Jews still controlled Germany. And they had a picture of the Hamburg airport, which had these airport hangars that were, they looked like Star of David. The planes would come in the different places. And this was just proof that the Zionists controlled the Hamburg airport. But I felt at home. I felt this was my home. And the Mailer family is a German family, German roots. I love the German language. Martin Heidegger is a person who was extremely significant in my cognitive development. Back to Israel. It was the same thing, though. Israel's not a place that I go to be safe. I wouldn't go to Israel to be safe. I went to Israel because it was dangerous. I went to Israel because it was in danger, not because I was in danger. And every time I've been back, it's all the same. I mean, this is my home. This is my family. And so, here in the United States, I have, my family, my brothers, and they are all ideologically, some of them are MAGA Republicans, and my brother, the rabbi, and his son are right-wing Zionist, and hey, this is my family. I don't love people because of their ideology. And I don't love Israel because it is a shining star in the heavens. It's a terrible, terrible situation, and it's a terrible, terrible place. But it's my home, and I love those people, and I care about them, both Arabs and Jews and Muslims and all of the other minorities. It's a place that's got enormous amounts of minorities. So I love Israel, and I'm attached to Israel, and that attachment is not to do with any kind of simplistic notions. The dream, however, has become a nightmare. The dream was that this would be the beginning of redemption, that we would have a new world, and that there would be peace in the land, that there would be peace between Arabs and Jews, and that has not happened. What's happened is that there's been a perversion of Zionism, and the 1967, when I was there, was a turning point, and the settler movement has simply come to dominate. And I don't know that I can explain this, but Israel was founded as a labor socialist state, and decade after decade after decade after decade, it went from being a socialist state, leftist state, a labor state, to a center-right state, to a right-wing state, to an extreme right-wing state. It just kept moving to the right, decade after decade. Labor was the dominant party in Israel, and it just collapsed. And I'm not quite sure, but that's the direction not only that Israel was going in, but the rest of the world as well. And I think that we tend to forget the fact that, when Reagan came into power, Thatcher was in power, and Begin was in power. And, and today too, if you want to look around the world, it's all very, very similar sociopathic men running the world. I don't know. Do we have any sociopathic women running? I think it's mostly sociopathic men. I got to say that seems that way. I've always thought that it was a big mistake not allowing, turning away from matriarchy. Matriarchal societies gave us a lot more hope of survival than patriarchal societies. They're just totally different in terms of abuse. And men in power is not really a great idea. So that's Zionism. And Judaism, I'm an atheist Jew, Orthodox. I just got up this morning, I put on my tefillin and I davened. My faith, I've said this before, I am attached. I was born into, and I am completely attached to a magnificent, thousands of years old tradition, which I love. And I get up every morning and I open up the Talmud and I spend time studying the Talmud, which was my first love. And we're talking about biblical Hebrew, classical Hebrew, medieval Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek. It's a very complex text, and it helps to keep me grounded. And all this legal system, I think, continually practiced. There are courts and lawyers and and cases, business cases and divorce cases and all kinds of cases, in rabbinic courts that have been in existence since before the destruction of the first temple. So I'm a Jew. I'm a Zionist. And I I'm an American. Everything that I am, everything that I touch is poisoned. I'm not innocent of what's happened to the planet, but I'm so insignificant that I can forgive myself for the part that I played in what has turned out not to be a very good situation. So I don't know what to tell you. I guess that'll be all for this week. What I'm doing is I'm recording mid the 2 weeks. That way I can go back and look at it and see if, okay, will this do? And then I'll release it. So I'm going to probably release this on Sunday. In the meantime, you be well. Take care. Thank you, Glenn, for the focus for this week. And I'll. The way we say it is Im Yirtzeh Hashem, Inshallah. I'll be back in 2 weeks with more bad news.